6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Got me up the coast, boy. Wanna hear the ocean roar crash over me. Then ride it home, dance it up in moonlight. Hold me tight and don't let go. Watch over me. We are all stardust, stardust, stardust. Left behind, left to find. Find one another, face the sun, fear no one, 'cause we are all one, we are all one, we are all, we are all one, we are all one, we are all. Pick me up, yeah, moonchild, put me into overflow. Superstar.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Yeah, so Justin responded, Geneva, I saw your comment. He said it was an accident, so sorry, I just freaking. Anyways, how's everybody doing? Decided to talk about something a little bit different. I didn't know if I was going to go live because I had a really bad headache earlier, but I ate a little bit. I feel a little better. So everything's copacetic. Today's winner is Marlena. Can too. I need to hook up my soundboard. Where is it? Hold on. Hold on. Oh man, I am so immature. That was for you, Marlena. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Kathy. You ate pizza frozen? Hey, Sharon. Yay, I'm a wiener. Well, we're going to look into this case today because I've had a few of you guys send it to me, and it's wow. Let's see. First, though, what's this? Let's go to this one. I haven't watched this one yet. We're gonna get might update or show.
Tight-knit community calling for justice, and we're now learning how she died. A medical examiner says Micah Miller died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Miller was found dead at Lumber River State Park on April 27th. The community continues to push police to look closer at her death. Detailed reports of harassment ahead of her death say she was afraid for her life, citing a tracking device found on her vehicle and an unnamed suspect trying to contact her. Divorce proceedings between Miller and the pastor were underway, court documents show. Her husband, Pastor John Paul, was released from duties at his Myrtle Beach church and said in an interview last week that she died by suicide.
She had struggled with suicide before, and each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And she even gave a few testimonies here at church. We have on video of times where she had battled suicide.
A full timeline of the story is at the National Desk.
So we're right. Let's see. Micah Miller, husband, announcement. I haven't seen this before. You guys tell me I need to see this one. I want to see where he gets up on the... Did one of you guys send me when he was up on the... Let me check my messenger. I thought one of you guys sent me it, but... I've got the one. I need the one where he's up on the up there, and he announces that she unalived herself. Does anybody know where I can go to get that? Hey, Mama T. I know. I heard that, BB. I heard that. It's gross and really disturbing. JM, can you send me the pastor video? They took it down. Somebody's got to have it up. Somebody's got to have it up, right? What's his name? John Paul Miller, wife announcement. Right here. Oh, he's just talking about it. Let's see here. Let's see what this is.
Hey, it's Adam from StreamYard.
That's
We have an
check.
exciting
I haven't heard
feature
it.
to announce called Green Room, which is now available.
This pastor makes a shocking announcement about the death of his wife.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet.
I want to see this whole thing. So he has the whole service. Oh, I know he's no longer the pastor. No, I haven't found it. This is just, no. Maybe it's on, John Paul Miller, wife, death announcement. Get that. Okay. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find I want the whole thing, but what's this? Oh, this is the same guy I'm watching right now. My dogs are okay. So don't talk about it. So this is okay.
Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit, because I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina, and we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids.
He's going on adrenaline. So did anybody see this whole thing where he does the whole service and everything, and then after the service he tells that? Like, are you serious? How long? I mean, I want to see the service before a little bit at least. So I just want to see the guy's demeanor and stuff. They found her deceased. Micah had been texting a friend about plans for the next day. She was excited going to a new church that next day. Wow. What's this though? I don't know if this is it. Is this 11:57? Okay, hold on. I'll get that ready while we listen to the
Kids and everybody. And she wasn't, y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her.
This is Pastor John Paul Miller of Solid Rock at Market Common Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And as you heard, the pastor says that his wife, Micah Miller, did this herself. The couple had been separated. Matter of fact, Micah filed for divorce back in October of 2023, but for some reason that was dismissed in February of 2024. In the weeks leading up to her death, Micah began uploading videos suggesting there was abuse.
I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me. Male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain.
And listen to this.
So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs or alcohol abuse or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
Now, according to...
She looks mad in this. Like, you can see the emotion in her face. Like, she's pissed. I think I remember hearing she just had a new haircut and hair color due and a new purse, not someone contemplating suicide, right? Yeah, she sounds like really in 111 in chat right now, by the way. I'm gonna grab my pup after I'll start this video and grab her so we'll reduce the barking. But look, it's still at 111 in chat. Now it's 109. Yeah, she's so pissed. Look at her face. She's mad. And did you see her eyes when she mentioned it making you take drugs? And then she gave that look like, like she was looking straight at him. You know what I mean? Like giving him the side eye. Like, yeah, you fucking did that. You did that shit, right? Watch her. She's pissed.
Or forcing you to take sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs or alcohol abuse or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're
My gosh, guys, I was having a freak out. And I'm too bad you guys didn't hear it. I was there talking about the 111 in chat. I was like, oh my God, 111 in chat at 11:11. I looked up, and there was 111 in chat at 11:11. Dang it. I was hoping you guys heard that because that was crazy. I was over here freaking I'm jumping up and down. It's like, oh my gosh. Pastors. Okay, so what is this? Let me look at
you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce. But why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
Now, according to court documents, Pastor John filed for support and maintenance back in February of 2024. But it seems that request was denied and dismissed. Then on April 16th, Mica filed for support and maintenance herself, and a hearing notice was sent out on April 23rd. And it's my assumption that Pastor John was served on that date or a few days later. And just days after that notice, Micah Miller was dead. Now take a look at this news report provided by ABC 15. Just listen to how quickly Pastor John points out that he has evidence of Micah's mental health history.
She had struggled with suicide before, and each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And she even gave a few testimonies here at church. We have on video of times where she had battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it.
But friends and family of Mica says there's more to this.
This has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here because, it's a tragic life was lost, and it's not just as simple as somebody had some mental issues.
Take a look at this Facebook post from Micah's sister. It says, "Please do not listen to the false stories shared about her. Mica was a God."
There's a lot of talk already going on, so I want to set the record straight. Our sister, Micah Miller, passed away yesterday. Please do not listen to false stories being shared about her. Mica was a God-fearing, joyful, loving woman who did not deserve the abuse she endured. If you hear anything about this from anyone other than her family, please question it. Reach out to her siblings or parents. Keep our family in your prayers, and if you have any information that needs to be... Hopefully he puts the rest on the screen, but maybe not.
To make things even more odd, she endured. To make things even more odd, look at this Facebook post from the church itself. It says, "Pray for those who persecute you."
But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
That was posted just hours before the recording of this video. But if that isn't interesting enough, look at what Mica said herself in one of her final Facebook posts. Once again, she suggests that terrible things are happening to her.
When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, y'all know what I'm talking about. Wink. Resting peace face. What's that mean? Oh, I see. Instead of resting bitch face, she's resting peace face. She's not going to let it get to her, right?
That terrible things are happening to her. Also want to notate a couple of things. I searched the church's Facebook page and website for a copy of this sermon. I cannot find that video. The last available service on video is from April 21st. I have also filed a Freedom of Information Act on different levels, requesting all documents pertaining to this case. I am waiting for that response. And know this, despite Pastor John announcing the cause of his wife's death, police have yet to do so. In over a week since her death, the investigation is still ongoing.
When your world is shook up, you need to take a pause. And I can only pray that more people will take a pause and I'm trying to get my priorities straight right now. And that's making sure that my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. Because you can't put a price on peace.
Yeah, you can see it. Here recently, let's see, let's check out these articles real quick, and we're going to go back to some of these. Let's read this. This was released about 6 hours ago. Robeson County Sheriff's Office to release findings in pastor wife death investigation. It says it's releasing tomorrow on Tuesday. We don't want to sit here and listen to that.
The Robeson County Sheriff's Office says it will release its full investigation into the death of 30-year-old Micah Miller. An incident report obtained by WMBF News states deputies found Miller's body at the Lumber River State Park on April 27th.
Ew.
We've also reached out to the medical examiner to request their report and are waiting to hear back. Miller was married to Pastor John Paul Miller with the Solid Rock Church in the Market Common.
So supposedly they're going to release more tomorrow, I guess. I remember seeing this woman's face. She just passed like a week or two ago.
Carolina pastor's wife.
There's got to be some accountability.
He was at the scene helping an on-call medical examiner on April 27th at Lumber River State Park.
Miller was found dead at a state park in North Carolina, about an hour north of where she lived in Myrtle Beach. Authorities opening an investigation into her death, but saying the community is not in danger.
She was probably the greatest wife anyone could ask for.
Her husband, a pastor at a local church, announcing her death after preaching last week, saying it was self-induced. Authorities have not confirmed or released a cause of death. Some community members protesting outside the church Sunday. This, as Micah's friends and family say, they don't think she took her own life.
We were talking about her coming to church Sunday, getting her some help with her car payment, just life stuff, just her moving forward.
Clark saying Micah was planning to get a divorce. She had filed for divorce once before in October 2023. That case consensually dismissed in February. In March, Micah posting, Please share this with anyone struggling with leaving a dangerous situation.
God hates divorce because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
And this was her last Facebook post. When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, y'all know what I'm talking about. RPF.
That just went. That was weird. She used to babysit for him. Yes, so he was married. From what I've learned, he was in his mid-30s. Actually, I thought he was 30 when they met. But I hear from a friend that he was like in his mid-30s, and she was like 14 or 15. And he was in a different marriage with like 5 kids. And Mica was their babysitter. She was a freaking, oh my, that is insane to me. That is younger than my daughter. That is gross. And then the stuff that I heard on, which one was it here? I started listening to this, and this was like crazy. Crazy, crazy. So these are like some of her friends coming forward and talking about things. This is really, oh my God, you're going to trigger warning if you guys need one. I'm not big on trigger warnings or whatever, but this is like, whoa. This is 5/5 of this year. All right.
This is probably the most important information I've been told so far. Again, I want to remind everyone that I am not releasing my sources to keep people safe, but they are very credible. You can think what you want, but I have nothing personal to gain from this. So here it goes. Mica kept a binder of proof of everything that JP has done. It's been handed over to authorities, and her affidavit will be going public this week or next.
Her affidavit. So her affidavit as in, how did she make it? What does she mean by that? Like her affidavit.
She said JP backed up in a BS apology to her, which there's no documentation of, which includes him literally saying he wanted to hurt her. So at the very least, he may get hit with that legally. This source spoke to the legal team at the hospital to discuss who was to get her body, and was told, per the coroner, that this is a clear-cut suicide, but nobody in the office believes it based on everything she told them, and especially after speaking to JP. He called their office repeatedly Monday, frantically asking about closing out the divorce to get it finalized, and they flat out said no, and he should be more focused on planning a funeral and having an autopsy done. And he tried to play it off like he didn't know what an autopsy was and didn't find it necessary at all.
He wants to close out his divorce because he's living in sin. He thinks he's living in sin. He probably thinks that, oh, he can't get a divorce. God hates divorce. That's probably why she's saying that on that short she was doing, or wherever she was posting, Facebook, whatever. She was probably like directly talking to him when she was saying this stuff, you know? She was like, yeah, God hates divorce, but doesn't God hate abuse too? So it sounds like to me like he was, tried to act like he was really, really against divorce. It sounds like, even though he divorced his ex-wife and got with her, which I don't know how all that went down. It'd be interesting. Has anybody reached out to the ex-wife? That's what they need to do next. If nobody's reached out to her, they should be. Has anybody losing his job because he was going through a divorce. Yeah, his current girlfriend's husband drowned in 2021, right? And he was like handicapped or something. I don't know what had happened. He was was it paraplegic or something? Or he couldn't move his legs at the time. I don't know. But he drowned. It really sounds suspicious. And that also happened at right around some very odd timing too.
This source also knows the officer who served him the papers 48 hours prior to her death. They said JP was absolutely shocked and did not expect this at all. And they left it very basic of just separation and did not include anything about adultery, so he couldn't plan for it and would be shocked in court when it all came out. He regularly forced her in his truck, and they'd pick up usually homeless people or any man they'd see, and he'd pay them to ejaculate on her. And one time it was someone he thought was a woman, and it was a male, and JP sucked him off. He used her to jerk off to her dog. He used to jerk off to her dog and has a blow-up doll that is of a 4-year-old. She was very open about her chemical imbalance that was not bipolar or schizophrenia and being off her meds for months, but that she seemed 100% well off and not in any sort of mental crisis from being off the meds. The power of attorney she signed was originally...
You guys heard that, right? That he had a blow-up doll of a 4-year-old. And he would pay homeless people to ejaculate on his wife. This guy is a freaking sicko. He's into bestiality. He's into children. He's one of those sickos who is into this demoralizing, like humiliating type behaviors. Does he really think that's okay? How does he think that that's okay? How does he really think God sees that as holy? Like, what is wrong with this guy? How does he get around that in his head? In this crazy freaking noggin of his? How does he decide that's okay, but yet getting a divorce isn't? Probably because that was in secret, and getting a divorce would be out in plain sight for people to see. That just shows like how sick a lot of these people are. I mean, how a lot of people, they're completely different to the world. There are these church going holy rollers with this seems like the perfect life, the beautiful wife and the house and all the cars seem to have the life, but behind it all, he's picking up freaking homeless dudes to have them, I don't even want to say it. And then one time he finds out he thought it was a woman. And what the hell was all that? Oh, God. Sam said, everybody has a public, private, and secret life. His secret life is overflowing real fast. Another young mother who put out a video that said her whole family learned under... Huh? Here's a video from many use status as a preacher, teacher, many other positions don't want you to be able to trust. Yep. Bad people comes in all forms.
by her brother, but JP changed the papers after the fact, possibly forging the signature, but we aren't sure yet. So he had power of attorney over her. I will post more updates as I find them, but please like and share this. We're getting closer to getting justice for Mica. Hey guys, it's Kyler. I've finally compiled my list of everything I know about this case. It's a lot, so I did write it down. Rock Church near the Myrtle Beach airport. Mica was found shot in the head fatally in Lumber River State Park in Lumberton, North Carolina on Saturday, April 27th, 2024. Mica and her blood family have no connections in Lumberton. There was a rumor that she was shot in the back of the head, but per Mica's blood family, this has not been confirmed. There was also concern that JP was going to have her cremated, but this was stopped, and her family did get to see her body. Her husband deemed it a suicide on stage at his church the morning after her death, saying it was self-inflicted and his wife was mentally ill. However, I don't think there is anyone in the world at this point who believes this narrative. Why? JP Miller was known to be an adulterer and abuser. I've had tons of people messaging me since last weekend coming out about how unhinged JP was, not only on stage, but in his personal dealings with former members of his church. What kind of grieving husband could stand on stage the morning after his wife's death, preach an entire sermon with no emotion, and then talk about her so poorly in front of his congregation? It was suspicious from the start. But over the past week, I have gathered more and more information with the help of our community and done a lot of digging. And I now believe this case to be far more sinister than I could have imagined. My social media inbox flood started with tips of JP being seen with his mistress around town since the year of 2021. I learned about his mistress's late husband, who was paralyzed and lived his life in a wheelchair, dying of a drowning in a community pool that year. This was apparently investigated and deemed a suicide. But again, nobody is convinced of that,
guys.
especially given his history. I have been getting message after message of witnesses stating how they were treated by JP when they decided to leave the church, from verbal harassment to public shame. Not only did he mistreat these people, but he mistreated Mica from the start. Mica was 14 or 15 when she was a member of his youth group at Solid Rock, and JP was in his mid-30s at that time. He was married with children and cheated on his wife with Mica. Mica used to babysit their children. I remember firsthand that Mica got a lot of hate back then, but I always saw her as a victim of grooming, as did most of her friends and family. They eventually—
Let's go back. Let's go to the source here of this. Okay, so somebody's sharing this woman's TikToks. But here is her actual TikTok, Kyler not Tyler one. If you want to check her out, let's see what she has over here. We have here she's saying something about a police report that Michael filed and an image of the church's property details. So you buy it for $169,000, and in the same year, it's worth almost $2 million. Thank you to the licensed PI that I'm working with on this case. What? Assessed value 1.9. What's this? Officers were shit. No.
I keep forgetting that there are people in the world that don't have.
How do I how do you pause? Is that gonna work? Ah! All right, I'm just gonna have to. HCPD. Okay, this was on March 11th of 2024. And this is destruction and vandalism of property at 1:20 in the morning. Is that when it was? Or, okay, no, they got there at 10 in the morning. Anyways, not that it really matters. Officers were dispatched to something Margarita Drive in the Myrtle Beach area of Horry County for a report of a razor blade being placed in her tire at the location of Spring May Drive. RO spoke with V1. What's that mean? Victim 1? Who stated that this is the second time a razor has deflated her tire in the last week. Victim 1 stated that she was at Spring Made Pier around 1:30. She stated she was leaving. She heard a pop and noticed that a piece of metal was protruding from her tire. Victim 1 made it home and found the tire had almost fully deflated by that point. RO observed the tire, and upon removal of the metal piece, it was found that the metal was a tire deflation device that can be purchased online. Victim believes suspect 1 may have placed or had the item placed in her tire. She has noticed strange activity in what she believes as people following or watching her. Victim stated that suspect has a history of similar actions against her. We live a few streets back from the church, and my husband and I were walking our dog by the church maybe about 10 minutes ago, and all of a sudden, as we were walking by, a man comes up, takes flowers away from the church sign. He's on speakerphone with a woman talking about Micah and the flowers. It was JP. He walked back to his blue truck. It looked to be the same truck, and he was wearing the same shirt from the video that was posted earlier. He is taking away her memorial flowers. And they asked, you're positive it was him? 100%, no question. My husband and I drove past the church again within the same hour, and the truck was still there. What the heck? There's JLR. Same truck, same outfit, talking on speakerphone, woman's voice on the other end. He walked over to the church sign and removed all of the flowers. We specifically heard him say Micah, and someone brought lavender flowers. Huh.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few more updates that I found out since this morning and last night. I posted it on my Facebook. So again, I'm just going to read it from there. I did write this myself. So I'm gathering a lot of information about Wayne Miller and his dealings with Pakistan and Jamaica missions. If anyone has past experience with the Millers in these places and in Africa, please let me know. I would love to talk to them. Please encourage them that they will remain anonymous. I will be waiting to post about Pakistan and Jamaica and hopefully Africa until I have everything compiled and verified. But I was right when I said this goes much deeper than just Micah's death. As for current updates, I have a screenshot from a family member of Micah's back in February and March that someone had control of her Facebook in recent months. She was being manipulated and controlled very recently, but not at the time of her death. Everything posted by Micah from the middle of March to when she died was posted by her. I saw photos of Wayne Miller at the church this morning for service and have attached them below. I've also found out a lot about the church itself and assets of the Miller family. Wayne has a current Bible college in Myrtle Beach called All Nations Bible College that relocated from Columbia pretty recently. In December of 2023, JP Miller sold his house to his church. I imagine he did this because Micah filed for divorce and wanted to protect his assets. In November of 2021, JP bought a condo. The other name on the deed is Rochelle Miller, R.I. Rochelle Miller, who I can't seem to find anything on yet. It was sold in June 2023 after word got out about his most recent affair and members were leaving the church. All of this is public record. There's a lot of speculation about Chris Skinner's death from 2021 that half of the internet says was an accident and the other half a suicide. Research shows that there are ways to control wheelchairs remotely, so let's just chew on that one a bit. I've uncovered a screenshot from several years ago of JP and Micah's joint Facebook account. What JP said here speaks for itself and says so much about the level of respect he had for his wife and his faith. This screenshot is a review of True Blue Computers in Myrtle Beach. It says, #pornography. Men, please bring your devices to True Blue Computers in Myrtle Beach. For $25, you will never be able to look at anything that could A, destroy your destiny, B, destroy your marriage and sex life, C, destroy your mind. Wives, you must be incredibly giving and encouraging and never reject or deny your husband. David, Samson, Solomon all struggled in this area. No matter how spiritual, strong, or wise a man is, this is a battle that the enemy knows could ruin his life forever. Thank you to all the wives who are willing to help their husbands to be overcomers and winners in life and in the bedroom. Thank you, Mica, for always being so giving. That's disgusting. I'm sorry.
No. What?
So next is when that could A, destroy your destiny, B, destroy the level of respect he had for his wife and his faith. This screenshot is a review of True Blue Computers in Myrtle Beach. It says, #pornography. Men, please bring your devices to True.
So this is him saying this. This is her husband saying this? I was trying to... Wow. She's going to bring... he's going to put her name out there like that? Thank you for being so giving. Oh, God, this is so weird. Ew, I just don't like that. Ew. This guy's a creep, dude. He is a freaking creep. Ew.
Blue Computers in Myrtle Beach. For $25, you will never be able to look at anything that could A, destroy your destiny, B, destroy your marriage and sex life, C, destroy your mind. Wives, you must be incredibly giving and encouraging and never reject or deny your husband. David, Samson, Solomon all struggled in this area. No matter how spiritual, strong, or wise a man is, this is a battle that the enemy knows could ruin his life forever. Thank you to all the wives who are willing to help their husbands to be overcomers and winners in life and in the bedroom. Thank you, Mica, for always being so giving.
Ew.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry, but it is. So next is, when you think about it, the statement of Susie Skinner and her comment about the nurse at the hospital does not add up. The police wouldn't normally give all of that information to the hospital, and law enforcement would not give that information to a non-family member. People are hitting the internet in droves who live in Lumberton and surrounding counties about how corrupt their system is and how every single woman who dies in that area is reported to have died from suicide. There's also a lot of videos and messages circulating about the good old boy system in Horry County and Robson County, which I never doubted from the start. Stuff like this is real and should not be taken lightly. Robson County came out with
we know it's real. We've seen it happen in Hawkins County. I mean, East Tennessee.
Statement 21 hours ago about a cyber attack on their system and have limited who can comment on it. But they can't post anything about Mica and the investigation they're supposedly performing. As someone who is currently in school for cybersecurity, I know full well how true this post is and how cyber attacks are a real thing and are happening everywhere. But the timing of it doesn't sit well with me. There has been speculation that the church is closed permanently due to screenshots on Google saying this. However, this is not confirmed, as church service was going on just this morning at the time of the protest. The family has been put in touch with a private investigator that wants to help and will not be named. It's unclear if they have decided to utilize them, but their services have been offered. I talked to this private investigator myself. Please like and share so the most recent credible updates start circulating. I also did a YouTube live with Justin on TikTok last night. I am going live in a minute with another YouTube liver, and this evening I will also be going live with True Crime Mama and one other person on TikTok. So stay tuned, like and share, and let's get justice.
Okay, so her name's Kyler. That lady is.
Y'all, Micah Miller's brother and sister have both petitioned the court, and what they said in these affidavits will blow your mind. Although so far everything regarding the death of Micah Miller is mind-blowing. I'm also going to post these up on my IG, which is the same name as on here for anybody who wants to read them in their entirety. Now, the first one comes from her sister, Sierra Francis, and there are a few things that I want to point out to you guys. So basically points 1 through 5 are giving a little bit of background, but when we get to 6...
What is this? Okay, so this is... Personally, appeared before me, Sierra Francis, who, after first being duly sworn, responses and states as following. In the matter of the state of Micah Miller, I am a petitioner in the proceedings which are pending before me in the probate court as to the appointment of special administrator for my sister's estate. I'm aware of Micah's family dynamics and relationship with her husband, responded John Paul Miller, and stepchildren Selah, Asher, Logan, Eli, and Zach.
Look, I'm just going to read these verbatim, starting at 6. I know my sister to have expressed the abuse and violence against her by her husband to others, including family members and members of the church congregation. 7. Micah told me that there were people following her, keeping track of where she went. She thought that Mr. Miller hired people to follow her. Mr. Miller later confirmed this during a sermon that I watched. So according to this, there is a sermon out there where he admits to having her stalked. Number 8, Micah confided in me that Mr. Miller was moving assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house, to the church, and transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks, which is a bar in that area, to one of his sons. Number 9, in February 2024, Mr. Miller removed my sister's personal items from the home they shared while she was admitted to Waccamaw Mental Health Facility and left them at the apartment of this woman. My sister was not aware that her personal possessions had been removed from her residence until she was released from her hospital. Now listen to this next part very carefully. Number 9, prior to her admission to Waccamaw, Micah was gathering and sorting evidence that she had in order to bring an attorney for filing for divorce to support her claims against Mr. Miller and as to his abuse, character, his paramours, and associates he paid off or blackmailed. While at the facility, those documents, emails, files, etc. were removed from her phone, personal laptop, vehicle, and purse and never recovered. Further, Micah was unable to access her iCloud account, email, or Facebook profile. Mr. Miller continued using at least one of Micah's accounts, causing any recipient to believe that it was Micah's communications. In number 11, it talks about her plans, but here, look at the bottom. On number 15, Micah forwarded a family group text messages basically saying that Mr. Miller was served the divorce papers on April 25th, 2024. Then 16, on April 27th, she was found dead. Now, I'll do the brother's affidavit in a separate video, but thoughts? Y'all, Micah Miller's brother and sister have both petitioned the Micah Miller's cause of death has now officially been released as of about 15 minutes ago. Now, according to the Robeson County Medical Examiner, Micah's cause of death was revealed to be a self-inflicted firearm wound. He went on to say that based on the nature of the wound, that is consistent with a self-inflicted, wound, and it was not in the back of the head as been rumored and speculated. Now, Dr. Johnson, who released this information, was not the on-call medical examiner the weekend that Micah Miller passed away. However, he did say that he went to the scene to help assist the on-call medical examiner. Now, I definitely want to know y'all's thoughts on all of this, but before I do, this is also something that's pertinent to share with you guys. Now, this was actually sent out to the members of Solid Rock Church, which is the church that Pastor John Paul Miller is the head of. And what it's saying is basically that they have released him from all functions for the time of healing, counsel, guidance, and pursuant to our governing instrument. Now, here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say that this is my personal opinion, so take that for what it's worth. I am still not fully convinced that Micah took her own life. However, let's say that this truly was a self-inflicted wound. I would still argue that with the abuse that is coming out, what we have seen that Micah went through, that John Paul would still be responsible for that death, given everything that he put this woman through. And if I am off base, you can tell me that, but that is my personal opinion. But Micah Miller's cause of death has now officially been released as of about 15 minutes.
I don't think the dude's good looking at all. I saw people. Is this the guy you're talking about, Jam? That's Chris Watts? I mean, like I saw somebody else saying that in the comments. Like Chris Watts was better looking than this guy. This guy is not attractive. The pastor John Paul or whatever. I mean, not that I thought that Chris Watts was particularly attractive. He was, he was all right. I'm just saying, like, I think this John Paul guy looks like a creep. And maybe it's because I know, or I heard what I heard about him, but to me, he looks, I don't know.
Tell me your mother-in-law doesn't respect your marriage without telling me your mother-in-law doesn't respect your marriage.
How about instead of your mother-in-law, your actual mother? Guys, there's a lot of stories that goes with this. If it blows up, I will give you more story times than you could possibly want. So coming off of a pregnancy loss, my wife and I find out that we're expecting again. And so the way I tell my mom is there was a rocking horse that I had when I was a kid. And when I had a child, I'm supposed to get that back. So I call her up and I said, hey, Mom, that rocking horse, I said, we're going to need it by September. And she says, well, I've been kind of busy. She was like, I need to do some stuff to it to make it better. But, I'll look at it closer to September. And I said, no, Mom, I don't think you heard me. We're going to need it by September. And she stops, pauses. Then her voice changes. She goes, Justin, I heard you. I don't know what you expect me to say. And that was basically it. She knew that we were telling her that we were pregnant. And that was her response. After that, she hasn't spoken to me since February of 2019.
Tell me your mother-in-law doesn't respect your marriage without telling me your mother-in-law doesn't respect your
marriage. What?
How about instead of your mother-in-law, your actual mother? Guys, there's a lot of stories that goes with this. If it blows up, I will give you more story times than you could possibly want. So coming off of a pregnancy loss, my wife and I find out that we're expecting again. And so the way I tell my mom is there was a rocking horse that I had when I was a kid. And when I had a child, I'm supposed to get that back. So I call her up and I said, hey, Mom, that rocking horse, I said, we're going to need it by September. And she says, well, I've been kind of busy. She was like, I need to do some stuff to it to make it better. But, I'll look at it closer to September. And I said, no, Mom, I don't think you heard me. We're going to need it by September. And she stops, pauses. Then her voice changes. She goes, Justin, I heard you. I don't know what you expect me to say. And that was basically it. She knew that we were telling her that we were pregnant. And that was her response. And after that, she hasn't spoken to me since February of 2019.
Wow. That didn't have anything to do with it, but yeah, Chris Watts did have a girlfriend too, and she I felt like she pinged in Frederick that morning. I know that case super well, almost as well as I know Summer Wells. Like I said, I went to church as a child for a few years and took my children to church for a few years, but we decided speaking and learning, loving God could be from home. Yeah, exactly. Because look at all these creeps that hang out in churches, This guy, a blow-up doll that's a 4-year-old? Let's see.
The death of a South Carolina pastor's wife is under investigation after he told his entire church congregation that she took her own life. This is 30-year-old Micah Miller. On April 27th, Micah was found in the Lumber River State Park with a GUN wound to the head. This is about an hour drive from her hometown in North Carolina, Myrtle Beach. In the weeks leading up to Micah's death, she would make posts and videos to Facebook about suffering from domestic abuse. Micah was married, but had been separated from her husband, John Paul Miller, who was a pastor at Solid Rock Market Common Church. In fact, Micah had filed for a divorce just days before she was found. Not even 24 hours after Micah had been found, John Paul Miller gave a sermon at his church and only at the very end mentioned his wife's passing in a 1-minute clip.
Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit. 'Cause I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. Yeah, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And she wasn't. Y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her. And so I'm sure there'll be more details to come. But just keep our family in your prayers. And I'm going to let Pastor Randall, Bishop.
Within the past year, Micah had filed 3 different separate support and maintenance requests, the last being on April 16th. Now, these basically allow you to get support from your spouse without being officially divorced. Now, Micah also filed for divorce in October of 2023, but for some reason it was dismissed. In February of 2024, John Paul would file his own separate support and maintenance request, but that too was dismissed. That same month, Micah allegedly left JP and went to stay with a friend in hiding. Micah would then confide in this friend how she was suffering from SA and that JP would force her to watch him engage with other women. She also allegedly discovered that JP was using church funds for things he shouldn't have been, and in retaliation, he put her in a mental institution. She then would go on to tell this friend that she is not mentally ill and that she has no thoughts of self-harm and that she thinks JP would unalive her. During this time, Micah's tires would be slashed and she would be stalked and harassed. In April of 2024, Micah filed for divorce, and on April 23rd, a notice was sent out for this hearing, with the hearing being scheduled for June. However, Micah would pass days later on April 27th. Just days after Micah's passing, JP was spotted out in public with what is alleged to be his mistress. Micah's family and friends deserve answers, so please do all of the things on any videos you see involving Micah Miller and get this story out in public with what
Do you think that this woman actually took her own life? Because a lot of people are questioning it. This is 30-year-old Micah Miller, and this is her husband, Pastor John Paul Miller. Both
He's weird.
Yeah, what would his motive be? You're talking about Pastor John Paul Miller, reasons for taking the life of his wife, Micah Miller. Pretty much pick your poison at this point, given some of the things that are coming out about him and his history, some of his behaviors. On the surface level, you may say he's probably paying support to his first wife, didn't want to pay support to another since she'd filed for divorce, but probably something deeper than that, considering how much time and effort
considering they don't have kids. I'm trying to find pictures of this girl, and all I can see is like the back of her head in pictures. I think it was yesterday. Cried myself to sleep after Justin's live. He interviewed a woman that's in hiding. Her hubby joined that church and changed so much.
he has put into discrediting her in front of the congregation, publicly discrediting her, to make sure if she said anything that they would blow it off as just the ranting of a crazy person who goes against God's will in seeking a divorce from their wonderful, handsome pastor. He even pointed out, what was it? mentally ill people don't know they're mentally ill. That he had gone through her phone and looked at messages that were being sent. And in regard to people who had offered her help if she needed it, he said, that's a demon talking. So he's even trying to discourage people from helping her if she reached out for help. His girlfriend, Susie Skinner. Now, this one I saw, I want to give credit where credit's due. Justin on TikTok was showing a statement from Susie Skinner. She just blew off Micah as claiming that she had schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and dependent personality disorder.
Wow. So I found
dependent personality also interesting, considering how long Micah seemed to be trying to get out of the relationship.
So I found something here. It looks like 1 second. What did I search to find that? Right here. Okay. So I guess this woman, this is her and her husband, ex-husband, that supposedly somehow, I don't know. I guess this is her right here. South Carolina's Pastor John Paul Miller's alleged girlfriend's husband drowned in a community pool in 2021. Internet sleuth Robbie Harvey reported that John Paul was dating Susie Skinner while still married but separated from Micah. While Skinner's husband, Chris Skinner, passed away 3 years ago in 2021, it is officially ruled an accidental drowning. Chris Skinner was paralyzed in a wheelchair after an accident. He became a motivational speaker and was good friends with Marty Smith, touching the hearts in several country singers like Cole Swindle.
You know, there's not a day that goes by the last 18, 19 years where I don't think back and go, put your seatbelt on, man.
I'm going to put this in that vertical zipper of your backpack where your meds are. Did you take your afternoon meds?
Yep. It was on a day just like today. I put my feet on the floor for the very, very last time, stood up, took a shower on my own for the very last time, went and dressed myself for the very last time. It was a day of many last times for me. I went to a wedding of a friend of mine, and when I went to the reception, I got intoxicated. Later that evening when we were driving, we were going 750 yards away when the vehicle flipped and was thrown out. I made a choice not to put a seatbelt on. You know, I tried to get up, just like we all think we're going to do every day, you know, put our feet on the ground and get up. I tried to move, I just couldn't move at all. Then I heard this noise and I look over and I saw my friend getting out on his hands and knees. And I was in the ditch, you know. And I remember when we made eye contact, it was the scariest eye contact I've ever felt in my life. He ran to me, got down on one knee, held my head, wiped the blood out of my mouth, and said the words that no 20-year-old should ever hear at that time. And said, "Don't die on me, man."
Hello, everyone. Marty Smith here. Chris Skinner inspired Cade and the regrets that he has in order to create a testimony that has inspired, one of whom is what's called a track fab wheelchair. It's basically an ATV that allows its user wheelchair. When I talked to my wife Lainey and we prayed on it, we knew it was right. Expedite Chris getting a track fab wheelchair. Play a show in Charlotte, and I put together an eBay bid. You're going to help me pay for it. I'm completely floored by your generosity, guys. Thank you so much. Be on the beach with his wife and kids this summer. Spending that afternoon with me. And his generosity is beyond my ability to articulate. He's a wonderful person. during that day and made Judd's day.
I appreciate y'all support Marty. Oh man, you guys you guys are awesome. Thanks. This is so cool. we just finished our camp.
This is the story of how all those people came together as by the waterside and feel connected to his soul and his family in a way nothing else could. We're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina today to give a friend of mine a piece of his life that he's going to be interviewed by a local TV crew. Come on. I cannot wait to see how excited he is.
What the? What the?
Hey, buddy.
What?
How you doing? I love you, buddy. Good to see you.
Like, gosh, what are you doing, man?
You've inspired me for so long.
Not that I will say I'm actually Baptist, but whatever religion you are, you can do it from your home and you shouldn't be ashamed for doing it. Yeah, you don't have to go into an actual church. Because like, why do I don't go to these churches most? You can't trust preachers. I do better staying home, read my Bible, right? Hey, Flow State. Hey, Rhiannon. Hey, Ava. I think Fred must have passed out tonight. I don't know if he's here. He was, but...
And you've inspired so many other people for so long. And I know it's been a tough time here recently. And your spirit is infectious. And I won't let that spirit die. So we're going to make our way around here. We're going to go down there, and I'm going to let you tell me your story. All right?
Yeah. I can't go out on the beach, so.
Come on. We're going to go out. We've worked it out with these guys where we can be right over here near the edge, okay?
All right.
I will tell you that one thing that allows me to find the deepest parts of myself and be really reflective is when I'm at the beach with my family, with Lainey and my children.
Yeah.
And I know that you share that. I know you share that same soul.
Yeah, man.
And I know how desperately you've wanted to be able to get back out here.
Yeah, I've been like
to the
2
sand
years.
and the surf and to feel that wind in your face.
We're trying.
So I got you a track fab.
Holy cow.
You're going to be able to do that now. You're going to be able to come out to these adaptive surfing events. You're going to be able to sit there with your beautiful children and your beautiful wife and feel that wind on your face. That's yours.
No way, man.
Yes.
He's still young. Kathy, did you talk to Fred today? I'll have to call you tomorrow and give you a little bit of an update. Some things I might need you to help out with. And the rest of you guys will be filled in soon.
Normally I have to sit on the pier to watch my family play on the beach, you know, and that puts me down on the beach where I can be with them instead of just watch them. And, you know, it kind of makes me feel more like an actual person, you know, instead of just sitting over here watching it and smiling and telling them to have a good time. I get to have a good time with my wife and my kids, you know.
I love it. Well, I think we ought to see how she rides.
Unbelievable.
Harvey said there's something disturbing that Pastor and Susie Skinner have in common. Susie Skinner's former husband, Chris Skinner, died from a drowning accident. Chris had a tragic accident some 20 years ago that left him bound into a wheelchair, but he adapted and lived a beautiful life. According to Susie, he enjoyed going to their community pool often by himself. On Labor Day 2021, Chris did just that, but apparently something went terribly wrong. According to reports, Chris got too close to the pool with his wheelchair and fell in with nobody around to save him. Reportedly, Chris was a regular at the community pool. Harvey continues. Somehow on Labor Day 2021, Chris misjudged how close he was to the pool and fell in. Guess who conducted his funeral? John Paul conducted the funeral for Skinner. Now, I want to stress that does not mean that Chris's death was anything other than accidental. All of this is just circumstantial. John Powell announced that his wife, Micah Miller, had passed away. He believes that she died by suicide. She had struggled with suicide before. Each time we would help her through it and take her to the doctor, and when we got through it and everything was fine. She even gave a few testimonies here at church that we have on video. She battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it. Harvey said Pastor John Paul and his wife Mica have been separated for some time, long enough for Pastor John Paul Miller to have a girlfriend. Her name is Susie Skinner, and this girlfriend has an interesting past. According to multiple sources, Susie and Pastor John Paul have been dating for quite a while. That's interesting because the pastor and Michael Miller were not legally divorced. Meanwhile, Micah's sister said she endured abuse. Micah's sister said Michael was God-fearing, joyful, loving woman who did not deserve the abuse she endured. If you hear anything about this from anyone or other than family, please question it. Reach out to her siblings or parents, she wrote. So we saw a little bit of what this wife looked like. So how long were they married? I wonder how long ago was this? How long ago was the... Like, did they know each other since 4 years ago? It sounds like it. So he probably had that. Skinner's story really made me sob. It's things like that give us a reality check. In the blink of an eye, it can all change. Marty Smith, you're a good dude. I'm so thankful Luke and I could help with this. And this is Luke's, or somebody named Cole Swindle. I don't even know this guy. I guess he's a country singer. But it looks like it was about 4 years ago. So, and then 1 year later, he has this accident where he got too close to the edge of the pool and just supposedly fell in and nobody was around. Oh, thank you, One Love, for the Cash App. I really, really appreciate that. There's Frederick. Yeah, he died in 2021. Yeah, well, I'll talk to you on the phone, probably, Kathy, because I have, yeah. All right.
But yes, sir. Wow.
There you go, buddy.
I gotta get used to all this stuff, man.
She just picked him up.
That's pretty cool.
How long has it been since you were on the sand?
A year, but nothing like this, man. This is bad.
How's it feel to be back?
Amazing. Better than amazing. Thank you, man. It's unreal. The biggest thing for me is I just love being out here with my kids.
I know.
I feel so lost when I'm sitting up there.
One of the greatest things that we have in this life is independence.
You're right. You're right.
And you know what it's like to have independence taken from you.
Yeah.
This gives you a little bit back.
A lot of it back.
A lot of it back.
I mean, this is I'm telling you, this is where I feel God the most. And this is where I feel really connected with my.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Colt. We definitely appreciate everybody's support, and it means everything. Seriously, it's been rough. And it's gonna, it's been rough trying to get through everything with what Fred's going through and trying to get everything lined up. Trying to make the process smooth as possible, Let's look at the most. What's this?
In regards to the Micah Miller case, JP Miller's alleged mistress has allegedly made a comment about this situation. This is very interesting because this comment was originally posted by Train the Competent EU in this article. However, when you try to go to this article, it's gone. So where she made this original comment is still unclear because they are just sharing that she made this comment. This is what she said. He is my friend. His wife died 4 days ago and he had no one to eat with. He asked some people to sit with him, but no one could go. So when he asked if I could go, I went. We've been friends for years. It wasn't a date. People also said he unalived his wife, but we think she called the police before she did that. And she bought a GUN and wanted to unalive herself and wanted to make sure they could ping her phone so her family could find the body. This is from the nurse at the hospital. Then she did it. She has attempted this before. She is schizophrenic, bipolar, and has dependent personality disorder. She put herself off of her medication starting in December against her doctor's orders and JP's wishes. Even texted her family to tell them she was doing it. This is the longest she has been off of lithium.
So, what's this dependent personality disorder? I'm guessing that's probably something that she obtained because he freaking groomed her from such a young age. Wow. Yeah, it looks like you guys are getting some storms down there. Is it bad yet in where you're at, Fred? So, people also said he killed his wife, but we think she called the police before she did that and said she bought a gun and wanted to unalive herself and wanted to make sure they could ping her phone so her family could find the body. This is from the nurse at the hospital, supposedly. Okay.
Lithium since being diagnosed.
It is weird. It is weird that she knows all this private information. I was reading this comment here. Why does she know all this private information about Micah? If my husband was telling his friend about my private medical information, I'd feel weird about it and suspect they were more than friends. Exactly. Telling it, she's, especially her mental health stuff, the personal, stuff about her being on lithium and all this stuff, like very personal things. Like, I don't even know what dependent personality disorder is, but this woman does. She knew that Micah supposedly had it. He said his first wife had the same thing. Oh yeah, all those women are always crazy. The crazy ex, right? Women are always the crazy ones, which is funny because like I've dealt with a lot of crazy guys. I mean, it's equal, really, honestly, just in different ways. It's just that women handle it. It's just a little bit different between the sexes. They both can be crazy. Supposed to get bad here where I am? Well, I like storms when I'm trying to sleep. Anyways, it's comforting,
A few weeks ago, she
Get
threw
away,
a bell
Dwayne.
out of the car while driving on the highway because she thought it was a snake. She was recently playing chess.
A few weeks ago, she threw a bell out of the car while she was driving on the highway because she thought it was a snake.
Alone and talking to herself, and when asked her what she was doing, she said she was playing chess with the demon. She was very, not extremely, mentally ill. The people who post things like this on social media
What's this
haven't
mean? She was very, not extremely mentally ill. What? She was very, not extremely mentally ill. To me, extremely is more than very. Yeah, he's trying to make her look crazy. That's what they all do.
spoken to her or JP in years. They were a part of his first church that ended in 2015, so none of that is what people make it look like. In regards to the Micah Miller case, JP Miller's alleged mistress has.
Wow. Dude, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Heavy rain and storms here also. Yeah, it was Fred that was sending me the little map. It was probably you that sent it to him. He probably triggered her illness by stalking and abusing her. Now, speaking of that, earlier what this Justin on TikTok guy said, he was saying that he feels like he should be held responsible for her death because of all that he was putting her through. I don't think that would fly, and I don't think that would hold a stick. I really don't. But there could be some other kind of charges, like probably maybe if they could prove some kind of like keeping her against her will or the sexual this type of stuff that he was doing, abuse and stuff. There could probably be some other kind of charges. I doubt that they can get. If she really did that, I doubt they could get him for murder or unaliving her. But they might be able to get him for some other stuff that they can prove. North Carolina foothills. Crossroads Cathedral Church in OKC. Crossroads Cathedral. Let's Let me look it up. I used to live in Norman, Oklahoma. I used to go through Oklahoma City all the time. So Crossroads Cathedral, Crossroads. That looks. I'm not sure. It's. I don't want to say. I can't say. It looks kind of familiar, but you know, a lot of churches look alike, so it's hard to say. You have family in Norman? Yeah, and then I lived. Gosh, I can't even believe I don't even remember the freaking town, but it was like, I mean, it's like freaking Beach Creek in a way. But it was a short time. Like, I only lived out there in Oklahoma for like less than a year. I cut myself, guys, earlier. I was cutting my, you know, those onions. How I love those, my wild onions. I was making some rice earlier, my famous rice. And wow, I don't know how, but the knife just like, it must have been super sharp because it was just like barely touched my skin, and it's like cut me pretty bad, and it's still bleeding. Oh, really, Rhonda? Oh, you sent him the map. Okay.
Part of a conversation between Micah Miller and one of her friends from April 5th has recently been made public and posted onto Facebook. I wanted to share it here with you guys in case you don't have that platform. I think it gives a lot of insight about how she may have been feeling. So she says at 1:41 p.m., "Thank you for your gentle warnings throughout the years regarding my relationship with JP. I know that you knew I wasn't ready to get out, but looking back, your warnings were very helpful when trying to make tough life decisions. Definitely have replayed our combos in my head over and over throughout the years and wish there was something I could do to get out. And now I've done it," with a happy face. And then her friend said, "Well, I'm so glad you never felt as though I overstepped and that you heard my heart when I said things, that I was coming from a place of love and concern, not judgment, malice, or gossip. And I'm so pleased that you are in a better place now. Of course, it would have been great if things did not end in divorce and your marriage could have been healed. But I feel like this new trajectory of your life is going to have such a profound impact on the kingdom of God." And Micah said, "Yes, things are looking up and headed in a great direction." And then, of course, she posted this just a few days later onto her Facebook. "When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, y'all know what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face. Hashtag still blessed. Hashtag God is good." But yet, according to Pastor JP, just a couple weeks after that, she took her own life. Come on. Part of a
Yeah, don't think so. Yeah, I think I have seen that Crossroads one. I'm pretty sure. Is it on TV? Is it like, I mean, I know a lot of these churches televise their stuff, but I feel like that one's like I've seen it. I swear I've seen it before, or gosh, but that was like 10 years ago, or that was before I even met. That was even before Jim, so longer than 10 years. 89th and Santa Fe. I didn't know what case or they're like the roads or anything. I'm bad at directions, but I just feel like that there was a church that I would pass, or that we would pass when you're driving on the highway that was like big and noticeable. It seemed like it was. I'm wondering if it's that church. And then I feel like there's one that's. I feel like the church I'm thinking of is televised like nationally or something. Like it's like a kind of a.
I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. Yeah, and it was self-induced.
Look at his ears.
I have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. It's all I can. Yeah, I'm just kind of. Yeah.
Look at it. Look at his ears.
Breaking news.
As a sudden and suspicious death of 30-year-old Micah Miller of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, continues to generate national headlines, Fitz News has obtained.
I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. Yeah, and it was self-induced. We're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. It's all I can. Yeah, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. My request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. This is the worst sermon I've ever preached my whole life. I can't stand it. I just want to give the altar call and quit now. One day, listen, if you ever want to know what I'm going through in life, it's always about what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time. One day I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. My wife went in the hospital.
What the hell? What? I thought he was married. Why is he? If I was his wife, I would be like, dude, this guy is so disrespectful, dude. And she's way hotter than he could ever. I mean, way hotter than his side piece. Yeah, very cringy. The only reason why he was able to get her is because he groomed her at freaking 14 years old.
I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential. Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse?
Says you're stalking. Pastor John Paul talks about his wife Micah's hospitalization during a sermon on March 11th, 2024. John Paul Miller, a pastor at Solid Rock Mark Common in South Carolina. What? This is really crazy. If I heard this shit, dude.
It's my whole life. I can't stand it. I just want to give the altar call and quit now. One day, listen, if you ever want to know what I'm going through in life, it's always about what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time. One day I'm preaching.
He's probably freaking trying to. What I'm guessing is he's probably sending like messages to certain people out in the sermon that he knew had been messaging his wife. Look at that dude. He's so goofy. Look how goofy that dude is.
Preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. My wife went in the hospital. I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential. Why the heck does somebody want to hear what somebody else says about their spouse? And 2 of those 18 were men. I thought, what? And I was thinking when I read that, I thought, Mark Cassidy, he's one of our elders here, and Jackie, she oversees our New Testament discipleship. Could you see Mark calling another woman and saying, you know what, I just want to tell you some things about my wife I don't like? Or could you see Jackie calling a woman or a man, either one? No, if someone wants to call you and say bad things about somebody else, that's a demon talking to you. And the only way to respond is with the word of God. You see, demons love words that line up with what they want. They cannot stand the word of God. So if anyone calls you and says, listen, I need to tell you about what my husband's doing, my wife, you say, listen, here's what the Bible says you need to do with that, because that's a demon. So there you go. Okay, I feel much better already. This is the
Oh, wow. So he just wanted to get that out there to say, if my wife ever messages you on Facebook, or if you ever reach out to my wife, basically. Yeah, fake preacher. He's letting them know he saw it. He seems so mad there.
As a sudden and suspicious death, a 30-year-old Mica.
What happens when bad people hide behind religion?
Look,
Exhibit
they
A.
put Lori Vallow. I
Now,
think
what I'm about to
this
share.
reminds me more of Lori Vallow. And, you know, to me,
With you, I cannot tell you that this is fact in any way, except that the man in these photographs,
not
John
Lori
Paul Miller,
Vallow.
was the husband that Micah Miller was separating and divorcing from, and even filing a no contact order of days before she found in the park. Now, if what John Paul Miller is saying about Micah taking her own life, if that's true, him and the woman in these photographs, Susie, have something in common. It is circulating in the rumor mill that Susie's late husband, Christopher, he had lost his life. He was bound to a wheelchair, but it absolutely did not hold this man back because he was such a motivational speaker and really impacted so many people. Christopher had taken his life also by drowning in a pool. And again, I cannot tell you that this is true, and I'm not trying to start any type of fire here.
He didn't self-take it. He supposedly, it was an accident, supposedly.
But Pastor Red Flag, he's got a lot of them. You got Micah's family speaking out, telling the public, don't listen to false information. The only person putting out information out there is former husband, the man that she was separating from, the man that it seems like she finally found her voice and was breaking free days after a no contact order and serving divorce papers. And regardless, a spouse in mourning, you look pretty cozy with this woman in these photographs. Your legs are practically touching. You're going out to dinner together alone and seen in multiple occasions. And I'm sorry to bring up Chad and Lori Daybell if you missed that in the beginning, but what happens when bad people?
Yeah, that's right. It was Chad and Lori Daybell. I thought it because of their partners passing at the same time.
Because I feel like they are the prime example. What happens when bad people hide behind religion? Exhibit A. Now, what I'm about to share with you, and regardless, your legs are practically touching in these photographs. You look pretty cozy with this woman in these.
She had struggled with suicide before, and each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And she even gave a few testimonies here at church. We have on video of times where she battled suicide. God took care of her and got her through it.
For families dealing with mental health issues, the pastor at Solid Rock Church has a message.
The second you see any type of sign, get them to a doctor. The second you see it, don't wait.
What happened?
She had struggled.
I've been seeing some videos about the Facebook activity on Micah Miller's sister's page, Sierra Francis. Taking a glance, it looks like the first post was on February 15th, and it says, if you see any post messages or texts from my sister, Micah Miller, it is not her. One of them reads, please do not fall for the BS being shared about my sister needing restoration, healing, and forgiveness. Narcissists working publicly with no accountability is insane. And that was on March.
All right, guys, so we have some updates in the mic.
I've been seeing some videos about that is insane. And that was on March 16th. March 9th, my sister Mica does not have access to her phone, email, Facebook, or charity account. She's not making these posts or sharing them. She didn't have access to her accounts. Who had access to those accounts? I'm unsure, unless it's the one person I think it is. But this post is the one that to me is the most striking, and I'm just going to read a couple sentences from it. As I was sitting in church today, I received a text message. Usually I don't check my phone and I keep it on silent, but with everything going on with my sister Mica, I've made it a point to try to keep an eye on it for fear for safety due to others' behavior towards her. To no surprise, it was a message about what was said from the pulpit today in Myrtle Beach at her church. Please hear my heart when I say if you attend that church, guard your heart and get in the Bible. When the pastor is married and he's on stage giving a sermon saying he's going to pray to God for a, quote, hot wife, that should raise a million red flags. When a pastor is on stage in a sermon saying, quote, he's going to wave to all his Facebook haters on his private plane on the way to Miami, quote, that should raise a lot of red flags. Go read all of these posts yourself, but you can definitely understand why her family was so alarmed by her passing. And while I recognize that family members are not necessarily privy to people's deep emotional struggles, these are very compelling Facebook posts. I've been seeing some videos about...
Yeah.
No doubt this is a very somber, heart-wrenching day for friends and family of Micah Miller. It's 3:00 Eastern Time, and they're having a memorial service for her on the beach. And apparently they're having a service for her as well at the church. There were protests, I think they're still going on outside of the church, and rightly so. Those who are demanding justice for Mica. And there was a gentleman who confronted, or tried to, the pastor while he was sitting in his truck, sitting on the property of the future site of Solid Rock Church. And this is what happened.
Hey, how are you? A lot of people, hey, sir. Okay, so he closed the door. This is Pastor John Paul Miller right here. What in the world is going on here? Interesting. Hey, how are you? A lot of people, hey, sir.
It's Monday, May 6th, and there's been a massive Micah Miller update as an affidavit has come out, as well as disturbing details about what JP forced Micah to do when they were together. So it was revealed that Micah apparently kept a binder of everything that happened to her, and that binder has been sent over to the police. And in a future affidavit, JP apparently apologizes to Micah and admits to everything that she accuses him of. And again, trigger warning, but JP would apparently often force Micah into his truck to go find a homeless man to finish on her. One time they picked up a woman, but that turned out to be a man, but that didn't stop JP from performing acts on him. There was also one time JP relieved himself to a dog, and he also apparently had a blow-up doll of a 4-year-old. This is the affidavit of Micah's sister saying that Micah would often express the violence and abuse against her by JP, and that JP would even have people follow her and keep track of where she went, and that he would often move assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks to one of his sons. And apparently while Micah was at the mental health facility, all of the evidence that she gathered against JP about his abuse, character, his associates that he paid off were all deleted. They were removed from her phone, her laptop, her vehicle, and her purse.
Dude, I hope those people who helped stalk her for him feel really bad now. Like, you know, if somebody was accepting money to go stalk him or stalk her, wow. Last time she wanted a divorce, he committed her. Was there life insurance involved? No, I think this motive is well, she was divorcing. She filed for divorce and was literally dead 2 days later. And then all these posts that she's posting, you know, saying stuff about divorce. Yes, divorce is evil. Or yes, God hates divorce. But doesn't God also hate abuse?
Purse and never recovered. Micah also apparently said, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP. We're not going to stop fighting for you, Micah, and we're not going to let JP get away with what he did. It's Monday, May 6th, and there's been a massive Micah Miller update as an affidavit has come out, as well as disturbing details about what JP forced Micah.
On my video yesterday talking about Micah Miller's passing this past weekend, there were a lot of questions regarding the sermon that was preached by JP Miller just minutes before he publicly and very crassly announced her passing on stage. And I wanted to share that here with you because I think it plays a very important role in determining all the additional pieces that are starting to kind of fit together. Before I show you that clip, I want to also address this Facebook post that I found through Micah Miller's Facebook page. It is a friend of Micah's, longtime friend, and she goes into great detail the amount of abuse that was happening in her marriage and clears the record. She, in this Facebook post, expresses that Micah's mental health issues over the past were created because of her abusive marriage and then used to weaponize her. So what's very difficult to make amends with is the fact that Micah was the theme of many sermons throughout this period of time prior to her passing, where JP expresses very openly Micah's mental health struggles and never correlates them to the actual source of the problem, which was their volatile marriage. This friend of Micah's goes on to say that she and her husband had left the church. It was a very difficult and painful experience. She also says that there was a lot of awful manipulation that happened after they left the church. Some of those examples are seen up here, where she says that there were attempts to sabotage their new church home, calls made to their employers, dropping in at any place of business in the middle of the workday when she refused to answer calls more than she can count, emails that were rants in writing. It was a nightmare for close to a month after leaving the church. So this is just the behavior that happens to churchgoers. Imagine what's happening inside of their nuclear family when the doors are closed. Then she says this. She had her tires cut multiple times. This is referring to Micah. Found multiple trackers on her car. Caltropped in fear of being found out and was hospitalized by her husband when it was completely unnecessary. She confided to me that she felt like an orphan and feared that no church would want her because of him. What she didn't know is a large portion of us who had experienced the wrath of exiting the church were waiting for her with open arms. Heartbreaking. There's so much more regarding this abuse behind closed doors. And then there's a whole nother piece of the story that was messaged to me last night in my comment section, which I'm going to go into in more detail, but I'm trying to compile all that information so it's as comprehensive as possible. So bear with me there. But I do want to show you a brief video of the sermon that was preached last weekend that no longer exists on YouTube, is taken down and hidden from the series, the sermon series that it belonged in, and is difficult to find. I did find it on someone's YouTube account, so I'm going to go ahead and show that to you here. It is quite eerie. I will make you aware, because the piece that's circulating all over TikTok currently is the piece of the sermon where he announces her passing with no former details. You're going to see here clearly how he expresses funny humor moments
that's what I want to
announcing
see.
her
I want to see
public
this.
passing. And buckle up. It's a little bit uncomfortable to watch.
God says, I love you, but I didn't do this for you. You see, 300 years ago, your great grandparents were listening to this tall, charming, humble pastor, and he told them that if they'll give their life to Christ. We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up, and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina.
This proved to be very disturbing for me because you could see the lack of compassion, grief, and despair in this man. I understand grief comes in all shapes and sizes.
I mean, I can't even believe he was at doing service literally within hours of finding out his wife allegedly unalived herself. Good point. She wanted to file for divorce if she wasn't. Exactly. Very good observation. Why even file for divorce? You know what I mean? Why even file for divorce if your plans were to unalive yourself? Now, I guess people could say, oh, it was a split moment thing. But it was literally 2 days later, and she's going to go through the hassle of getting a lawyer and all that shit, and then just unalive herself? We're not even talking like it was like a year later after a year after battling in courts and stuff. This was 2 days after. 2 days after, when she was so excited about finally leaving this relationship and being free.
But true grief and true mourning does not come like that. This made me start questioning what kind of messages he was actually preaching prior to Micah's passing as well. And when I did a deep dive, I found some very disturbing clips where he is preaching messages in order to control the people. I once belonged to a church for many years where the pastor would regularly preach sermons about other people, about issues in the town, issues between other pastors, issues between other ministers, issues with people inside the church and the church congregation. And the way that he would preach them would be he would use sermon pieces, he would use scriptures, take them out of context, and then he would manipulate the congregation by teaching them what he wanted them to know and how he wanted them to behave. One of the most common ways to do this is to preach the message of David and Saul and talking about not touching the Lord's anointed, which was actually referring to murder, which is very interesting to me. But it's often used in order to manipulate the church congregation into keeping silent, maintaining respect for the elders, no matter what actually they're doing that's unbiblical or wrong. And then they almost always flip this message into not gossiping, not talking about people, not getting help or counsel if you're going through something, that you're struggling through something, never speaking a word about anything. And in this case, J.P. Miller does exactly that to his congregation just 1 month before Micah's passing.
We're going to be judged by the law of Myrtle Beach. We're going to be judged by the law of God. If you have hate in your heart, you're a murderer by God's standards, and you don't have eternal life living inside of you. And that word hates there is the word that means continued anger. If you're still angry with somebody, okay? I told you I shouldn't be here today. You just get what you get. Just remember. I want to give you some things that because sometimes people don't know what's in their heart, because the Bible says our own heart deceives us. So I want to give you some fruit of having a nasty heart. And then if some of this fruit is in your life, then you'll realize, you know what? I need to take it to the altar. And I need God to help me, because only God is the ultimate heart surgeon. Only He can really heal a heart, okay? So here's 4 things that happens when your heart is corroded and you don't even know it. The first thing is this, is you begin to gossip and speak negatively, especially of the person that did you wrong. The very person that did you wrong, you want to talk about them and just talk. And there's a really weird idea that a lot of women have. It's so weird that women have this. Christian women think, well, I need somebody to talk to about these people that hurt me. I need somebody to talk to. Oh, you just need somebody to talk to. Just go find somebody to talk to. Okay. If you want to talk about your own problems, the Bible says confess your own faults one to another, then you can be healed. But if you're going to talk about somebody else, that's a demon actually right there. When my wife went in the hospital, I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential. Somebody else, that's a demon talking to you. And the only way to respond is with the word of God. Because see, demons love words that line up with what they want. They cannot stand the word of God. So if anyone calls you and says, listen, I need to tell you about what my husband's doing, my wife, you say, listen, here's what the Bible says you need to do with that, because that's a demon. So there you go. Okay, I feel much better already. Okay, point number 2 is this, is if you react back on Facebook or email or text. If you look at your emails, text, or Facebook, and someone said something or did something, and you think, you know what, I need to respond and react, you don't even need to react. When there's an enemy out there, don't even waste your time.
there's so much to this sermon. There's a lot more clips. I'm going to have to share it in another video because there's too much to shove into this one spot. But you can already see the level of manipulation that was happening just a month ago from the pulpit, where he's telling people, don't gossip, don't talk about other people, let the Lord handle it. And then he immediately starts telling details of his marriage, details behind the scenes, people that don't like him, which are in the next clips, elders that have called him out saying that we don't agree with you. Everybody who disagrees with JP Miller is his enemy, and he very clearly states in these videos
Keep your nose on your wife's
as well
business.
that his enemy, he has a violent feeling against them. It's concerning, but it's extremely telling all at the same time. I think you'll get a better picture for who.
You see, 300 years ago, your great grandparents were listening to this tall, charming, humble.
Hey everybody, I just want to let you know that I'm alive and well, and life's been kind of crazy the couple past weeks, months, years, but I've kind of had to keep my circle really small for the past couple weeks just because I'm going through a lot and it's hard and it's my cross to bear. It's the thing that God has put in my life to deal with, and I don't want to bring a lot of people into it. I'm so thankful to God for a strong family and the friends that God has put in my life to be there for me at this time. I just wanted to share that my heart and my prayer is that the church would stay strong, that y'all would stick together, because the church is God's people. It's not a man, it's not a person, it's not me, it's God's people, the bride of Christ. And there's a lot of really good people in the church that that I just hope would continue on.
It sounds like a church for Don Wells.
Run your race. Stay encouraged, stay in your word, keep worshiping. Like I can't wait to worship again with everybody, but for now I'm just worshiping with me and Jesus to God. And
Imagine how brainwashed he had her. Meeting her when she was started dating her when she was babysitting him for him. Babysitting him, yeah, she probably had to do a lot of that too. But babysitting for him and his ex-wife, and she was only 14 when she first started, and then when she was 15 is when their little affair started. He was the youngest I heard is 30, but I heard somebody else saying he was in his mid-30s when it started. And yeah, he left his first wife and married her at like very young, like at 15, I think. Didn't they marry when she was like super young? And so now how old is she? I think she's like 30 now, or how old was she when she passed? But I think they've been married for like 2017. So what do you think that means, Luminous? Linda says 30. Okay.
I don't think God would be pleased with me if I just jumped right into missions and women's events and creative directing and worship leading and stuff. I think when your world is shook up, you need to take a pause. And I can only pray that more people will take a pause and I'm trying to get my priorities straight right now. And that's making sure that my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. Because you can't put a price on peace from God. So thank you for all your prayers and support. Know that I have to keep my circle really, really small right now. I'm used to having a really big circle, so it's hard because I want to reach out to everybody and tell you how much I love you and I miss you. But this is the best way that I know how. So I love you all. I miss you. Thank you for your love and support over the last couple years. And some of you, up to 18 years walking with me as my friends. And for right now, I've just had to put everything on pause to get myself right. And I think God's happy with that. So keep praying for me. Thank you. And I love you. I'll be praying for you. God bless you. Bye.
Okay, so JP Miller did an interview with the Christian Post. I'm going to read it to you. It is very long. There is also a counselor that they interviewed that states that JP was with this counselor when he got the call about Mica. In an interview with the Post on Friday, Pastor Miller admitted that his relationship with Mica began with adultery. He said they were both previously married and cheated on their spouses, and many people left his church, forcing him to start over. He said he and Mica got married in 2017. Shortly after.
So, okay, so they didn't actually get married till. So she was married previous to. Okay, so she babysat for him, but they didn't actually get together till she was 23.
After she underwent surgery for an undisclosed reason and was diagnosed with bipolar 2, schizophrenic, and dependent personality disorder. Since 2017, Pastor Miller says they have been trying to manage his wife's mental illness with lithium and significant support. As long as she took her medication, Pastor Miller said, his wife would be fine. Mica, however, had a roller coaster relationship with the medication. He alleged she would complain how the medication would make her gain weight or cause her to slur. And earlier this year, the wife of a well-meaning pastor friend who had no understanding of mental illness offered to pray and believed that Micah Miller's mental illness would go away. That incident, he said, stuck with Mica, and she started to believe that she no longer needed medication. I took care of her every time she went to the mental institute. I took care of her every time she stopped taking her lithium. I would never expose this stuff of her if I didn't have to now. But every time she's tried to unalive herself, I would be there. I would literally sometimes pick her up, physically put her in the truck, take her to the hospital, Miller said, with a slight crack in his voice. Pastor said he took his wife to probate court a few weeks ago to get her hospitalized, but the court stated that she wasn't a danger to others, so she could not be forced. Nobody believed me when I told them she was having a psychotic break. She would have never left. She would have never done what she did. They wouldn't believe me. I have 48 text messages that I sent out saying she needs her lithium. Somebody please help me. And no one believed me. Everybody thought I was a demon for trying to take her to probate court and get her put in a hospital. I told her family I have text messages over and over. I told her family she needs her medicine. They told me I'm crazy. She doesn't need any medicine. I texted her, but they sent her saying it makes you fat or it makes you slur. or you shouldn't take your meds, or you just need something holistic. You don't need what doctors say. Nobody believed me. Nobody understood mental illness. She was diagnosed by the doctors for the past 7 years as bipolar, schizophrenic, independent personality disorder. And I was with her every time she thought she was seeing aliens. I was with her every time she thought artificial intelligence was after her. I was with her through everything. In the last psychotic episode she had, she didn't know who I was. She thought that I was somehow the enemy. Nobody believed me, and everybody thought that she was just being her normal self, and no one understood. With her mental illness, people understand that she can say a sentence that's normal, and in the very next sentence she'd say, with the same cadence, the same tone, and it would be completely abnormal, which is why people didn't understand. She'd say, I want to go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and after that, I'm going to learn how to fly. This is where they talk about the counselor. His name is Reverend Charles Randall, Pastor Miller's spiritual advisor and mentor. He told the Christian Post that basically social media is very wicked in saying things and lying about the situation, things that they are not aware of. He said he has known Miller for a long time and was one of his teachers in high school. Also said he had been counseling Micah and Pastor Miller since September 2023 and was not aware of any abuse. He acknowledged that there was a little bump in the road during efforts to restore their marriage, but did not disclose what that bump was. Randall said he was with Pastor Miller the night he got the call about his wife's death, and despite what people thought about his preaching last Sunday, he was tore up. Now, Randall goes on to state that pretty much everybody's lying. It's a really long article if you guys want to go read it for yourselves, but that was the key points I took away. Okay, so J.P. Miller did an interview with the...
Interesting. So we have an update on the Micah Miller case. The cause of death for Micah Miller has been released. According to the Robeson County Medical Examiner, Micah's death has been ruled as a self-inflicted firearm wound. Dr. Johnson was the medical examiner who...
A new update on the pastor that his wife, Micah Miller, was found.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and all of this information in the video may ultimately be clues as to why Micah was a threat to JP's freedom, as well as his father's. Let's get into it. JP's father, Reginald Wayne Miller, is the founder of Cathedral Bible College. He has a long, disturbing history ranging from SA against children to ICE, immigration enforcement, charges from mistreatment of his foreign students, to charges of lewdness for exposing himself to an undercover officer, to accusations of inappropriate advances towards some of his female students' husbands. It is well known that
Female
Wayne
students'
frequented
husbands.
many foreign countries on his missions, and most recently had been exposed for crimes he committed in Pakistan with a friend, Troy Taylor, who also spent 20 years in prison for SA against children. In this video, it explains how Troy and Wayne were involved with a church in Pakistan, ran by Dr. Jerry Savelle. It talks about how Jerry didn't know all the bad things Wayne was doing, and once Jerry found out, he cut ties with him. What was Wayne doing, you ask? He's been exposed for SA against Pakistani men. In Pakistan, men intimately engaging with other men is illegal. Allegedly, Wayne would throw around his money in Pakistan and was called the Great Gay White Christian American. He would try to coerce intimate favors from the Pakistani men, and if they didn't comply, he would become forceful. Wayne and Troy fled Pakistan when they were being exposed for their crimes, but brought back Wayne's boyfriend and his boyfriend's sister, who Troy sponsored so they could live here legally. With the information coming out that Micah was concerned about what JP was doing with the church's money and how she didn't think it was right, which in turn JP had her committed to a mental health facility, could JP have been involved in some of his father's missions? Was she a threat to their money laundering, SA missions, and everything in between? It was also recently mentioned by JP in one of his sermons that a private jet had been so kindly donated to the church. That doesn't seem odd, does it? It should also be noted that Jerry, the man...
A private jet was donated. Good night, Rhonda.
that ran the church in Pakistan, who cut ties with Wayne after he found out what he was up to, also recently passed away under suspicious circumstances 2 weeks before Micah passed away.
Wow,
Could
what?
it be that
Really?
they knew too much, and with the man who cut ties with Wayne after he found out what he was up to, also recently passed away under suspicious circumstances 2 weeks before Micah passed away? Could it be that they knew too much?
Looks like he was 78 years old, though.
60, 70, 80, 60, 70, 84, 78, yeah.
Passed away. Could it be that they knew too much, and with the marriage dissolving, they had to get rid of Mica as well? I encourage you to go check out the TikTok page, Kyler Not.
Okay, guys, so I dug a little bit deeper into the Micah Miller situation.
I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, doesn't matter.
111.
It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that? I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are.
I wonder how long she looks so just not one. She just looks like really just drained. Just
huge updates in the Micah Miller case. You guys took me down this rabbit hole yesterday. We're going to keep it going. Make sure you leave a like, follow for more true crime, and check this out.
I have several new updates to release about Mica. However, this one could not wait. According to Kyler Marlowe, whose ad is Kyler Not Tyler1, they have a direct source extremely close to this case. This is what Kyler stated from their source. But before I read it, I need to offer a huge trigger warning. Please proceed with caution. Quote, Mica kept a binder of proof of everything, and it's been handed over to authorities. Her affidavit will be going public this week or next. Everything she said, JP backed up in a BS apology to her, which there's documentation of. This includes him literally saying he wanted to hurt her. My source spoke to the legal team at the hospital she was taken to discuss who was to get her body. They were told, per the coroner, that this was a clear-cut, self-inflicted unaliving. However, nobody believes it based on everything they know, and especially after speaking to JP. JP called the Monday after Micah's death repeatedly, frantically asking about closing out the divorce to get it finalized. They flat out said no.
the Monday after her death. So that was like 2 days after, right? Because she had to have passed if he was doing sermon on Sunday morning. And he just had found out late last night. So that would have been Saturday, late last night. He goes and does service. Makes everybody aware after the service or after the sermon that his wife unalived herself. Very odd. And then the next day, he's trying to finalize the divorce? Or
No, and that he should be more focused on planning a funeral and having an autopsy done. He tried to play it off like he didn't know what an autopsy was and didn't find it necessary at all. This source also knows the officer who served JP the papers 48 hours prior to Micah's death. They said JP was absolutely shocked and did not expect this at all, and they left it very basic of just separation and did not include anything about adultery, so he couldn't plan for it and would be shocked in court when it all came out. JP regularly forced Micah into his truck, and they would pick up homeless people or any man they'd see, and he'd pay them to finish on her. One time, it was someone JP thought was a woman, but was actually a male. JP helped him finish with his mouth, which he acknowledged in his apology letter. He also used to finish to her dog, and has a doll that blows up that is of a 4-year-old. Micah was very open about her chemical imbalance that was not bipolar or schizophrenia, and being off her meds for months. However, she seemed 100% well off and not in any sort of mental crisis from being off the medication. The power of attorney she signed was originally for her brother to have, but JP changed the papers after the fact, possibly forging her signature, but that isn't confirmed. So
What?
JP did have power of attorney over Micah when she
passed. So JP did have power of attorney over Micah when she passed. Wow. All right, guys. No, maybe it's just because he just comes off a major freaking toll, dude. I mean, I never liked those kind of like cocky type guys anyways. Like he's just, I mean, because they're always those type of guys. They're compensating for something, you know? If they can, I don't know. If you're talking about that kind of stuff publicly in a church, about you're literally married and you're talking about you're basically talking about wanting a hot wife when you're married. I don't understand that. Like basically here he's married, so I don't understand. I don't know. Anyways. Stable. Yeah, exactly, Jane. They probably are trying to be one of those cool hip churches, you know, those. And and maybe they speak more openly there or something. I've never heard that. I've been to so many different kinds of churches. Of all kinds. So I've been to some, yeah. That's not normal. Yeah, blow up 4-year-old. Like, really? I mean, you gotta think too, what did the guy go through when he was a child? I mean, not that it makes it okay, but it makes you wonder after hearing about his father and the weird stuff he was into. And of course, it sounds like scams and taking advantage of people, vulnerable people, using his power. What's it called? Power. When you have a power. I'm trying to think of the freaking word. Getting too. I'm just too tired right now, I think. Power dynamic. There's a power. It's like, yeah, I don't know. These people hide behind the church and then use their church money for. He's for private jets. Oh, they just so nicely donated a private jet that I'm going to wave to all my haters on the way down to Miami. Yeah, he did, but he didn't try. He tried to basically like, yeah, he talked about their dirty laundry, their personal shit, going through her phone, obviously, and looking to see who was messaging her. All right, guys, I'm gonna go now. Oh man, it's been a weird day. It's been a weird day. I started off kind of. It's just been just an off day for me, I think. Yeah, good night, everybody. I know he did that on purpose. That's why he did it. It was a way to humiliate, embarrass her, make her feel trapped, that there was no way out, nobody she could talk to, because they're going to tell her it's it's the devil making her think like that. Is nobody else live right now? Dolly Vision.
Anybody should be able to do it. Okay. That's why I'm so hard on these people. I'm like, listen, I'm an idiot. When I had that kid, I had no clue how to be a parent. Right? It's a learning process for everybody. So, but you got to learn it.
When I had that kid. All right, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.